a new energy brewing in central New York, and it's a lovely day for some volleyball. Syracuse off to the best start in ACC play since 2022, and now face a nationally ranked West Coast powerhouse. Number 6, Stanford, steps into the women's building for the first time in program history. It's Stanford versus Syracuse in a Sunday afternoon showdown. Welcome in, folks, and thank you for joining us on ACC Network Extra. I'm Tommy Armstrong alongside my partner, Spencer Bewley. Spencer, Syracuse is above 500 in ACC play, but now face one of their biggest tests in Stanford.
Well, this is what you play for, right? I mean, you welcome a top 10 team into your own building. There's a big crowd on hand, a lot of energy in the building today. This is all you can ask for.
And for Stanford, one of the reasons they've been so great is those middle blockers, and that starts with Lizzie Andrew.
Yeah, she's 6'5", right? Tons of verticality. You see it right there. The attacking angle is just so sharp. They're going to rally behind her in the middle. I think what's going to happen is Syracuse's defense is maybe going to try and play a little bit tighter to the net to recover for that steep angle.
And if Syracuse wants to compete with that talent up front, it's going to be with the likes of Gabby McLaughlin and Skylar George.
The two that have been consistently getting it done for Syracuse, and it's going to start with great serving. That's one of the things that Coach Bake preaches is aggressive serves. It can maybe create an ace, but it also just gets the defense out of system a little bit, which in turn helps Syracuse play well on offense because they're going to have to make a lot of adjustments today, facing a lot of block touches off of a really, really big Stanford front. You're not going to be able to just go right at the block. You're going to have to find a way to get these pin hitters to work around that block, maybe tool it here and there, but also get it done from the service line.
Yeah, they got it done all over the floor, but one of the biggest marks was the serving specialist. Zaria Harris-Wadi going to be the first to send this one away. Impressive dig there from Cuse, and then another one on the Stanford side of things, swinging it over, and volley continues. Just a light touch from McLaughlin in the back. Opposite end, it hits floor, but out of bounds. Syracuse picks up the first point of the contest.
It's a really nice start for the Orange. Kind of getting settled with one of those longer volleys. It's a nice thing to maybe calm the nerves, get you into the moment. That's a great start for Syracuse.
And you see Harris-Wadi, the junior from New Jersey, has had some serving success since ACC play started. That's a tough one to recover for, but we're going to see a violation, and it's going to go to Stanford. And here is the coach from Stanford. Coach Hembley, in his 9th season, has had an impressive overall record, and just Stanford as a whole, a historic team.
Well, there's Spencer Etzler with the service ace for Stanford, and we talked about how that's a big point for Syracuse, but it's something that Coach Hembley preaches for Stanford as well. They give up a lot of service errors, but in trade, they come through with a lot of aces on offense.
Etzler had 12 coming into this contest, just picked up her 13th. That one too much on it. That was Elia Rubin. They're going to look her way all contest, but can't get started.
Yeah, she's the veteran on this team. The only returning All-American for Stanford, first team last season. She's strong on the attack force, but opens up with a long one.
We see Reese Tevez to serve it off for Syracuse. In towards the middle, she can't handle the dig, however. And there's those middle blockers up front, making an impact on the offensive side.
Yeah, it's nice placement from Andrew. She takes the nice set and just flicks it down the line. I think Syracuse right now is doing a good job of kind of covering that middle, so they can force Andrew to do that.
And then picking up another service ace, the second for Stanford right out of the gate.
Yeah, the aces are great. Again, we talked about how important that is for Stanford's offense, but even just creating pressure on Syracuse, you start to get it in their heads.
Skylar George flicks off the net and finds its way down.
Really nice target here from Skylar George. She's going to get a nice set from Maeva just to the left side of the net, and then just takes it right down the line off the arm.
Scramble. Syracuse going to have the first crack on the offensive side of things. Push it opposite way, but denied on the outside, and that size showing up quickly for Stanford.
That's something you can live with if you're Syracuse. I mean, Coach Bake said it in our weekly talk. He said, we're going to get blocked, right? But we know that. We know who we are. We know that we're going to have to work around that block, and you see it. I mean, just the height over that net. It's great extension there from Andrew to slide over on the combo.
The aggressive serving saw it come up quickly for Stanford, but now switch it over with an error.
These are the mistakes that Syracuse is going to need to take advantage of. Anytime they get a free opportunity, they earn a point off of a Stanford error, got to come back and respond and capitalize off some of that momentum.
Lana Yamada second on the team for the Orange in the service aces category. Andrew just pushes it over. Nice dig there by Yamada. Syracuse battles to stay alive, they do. Flinging it to Andrew, just a punch, and it finds its way on the court.
One of the things you're seeing here early from Syracuse, we saw it in the opening point, these longer volleys, they're keeping the ball alive, they're reacting and adjusting really well. It was really it's a good point one from Stanford, but good defense on the other side of Syracuse. You can live with a point like that.
Laughlin off the hand, Stanford settles. They swing one. Back and forth from the outside hitters, but again, it's a one in the middle of the net. That time it's Logan Parks, the freshman.
Parks does a nice job of taking advantage of that overpass. Another thing that Stanford is just so good at is winning those balls up front. Logan Parks just 6 foot.
And then the service coming back to bite Stanford, so they quickly pick up 2 aces, but then in their last couple give up some errors.
Yeah, and again, Coach Hambly, he's okay with giving up errors, but at the same time, those errors are kind of what kept Boston College in the game against Stanford on Friday night. They were able to pick up a 3-0 win over BC, but Boston College hung in there, and a lot of that was because of errors on the end of Stanford.
Hard swing, nice tip at the net from Syracuse. They look to respond with Sydney Waller. George from the back, taps it forward. On the floor, almost punched it up, but Skylar George gonna get awarded the kill.
She's got such great court vision. We talked in the open about how important it is for Syracuse to find other ways to score. Everybody knows that Skylar George is going to bring a lot of power out of the back line, but they might not be as ready for that dump.
Lizzie Andrew not on the middle of the net for that last point, and George able to float it over. And then a nice block from Syracuse. It finds the back line.
It's a great job by WVB and Waller closing the gap. They're ready. They anticipate the ball being passed to Blashoff on the left pin, and they close it down textbook.
Stanford goes right back to it. Dunks down and finds floor. Gabby McLaughlin figuring out ways to get on the scoreboard.
I think right now Syracuse is playing with a little bit more speed than Stanford as far as being ready and anticipating instances like this. McLaughlin is right there waiting for the block touch, and she takes advantage of it.
A 4-0 scoring run from Syracuse. They take an 8-7 lead. Overpass and shut down.
Well, it's a great job finding the open court. You're going to see Spencer Etzler, the libero, creep just too far forward. And a nice open find as Blashoff had fallen in close to the net as well. There's been a lot of great play up front, but a good look to the back of the court.
Extended serving run for Taya Maeva, and then the dig to follow it up. Orange backline, George finds floor. Timeout called by Stanford. It's a big run by Syracuse.
The defense right now for Syracuse playing so well, and it's setting up some great offense. As Skylar George with a beautiful find on the left.
And it's that young lineup that has some figuring out to do. It's their first time in the women's building. Series history, they have faced off 3 times before. Stanford has taken it last year, their first season in the ACC, won the meeting, but that was at their place, and it's going to take some getting used to for this young roster to settle in no matter where they are.
Certainly uncomfortable right now. I don't think they expected it all to be down here in set number 1.
And then some power coming out of the huddle. It's Julia Blashoff.
It's a good job rallying the troops by Hambly, and Blashoff able to come out, the redshirt sophomore. She's got some experience on the Stanford roster. Not a lot of veterans on this team, but going to need the ones that have been around for a couple seasons to step up in moments like this.
Just 2 seniors on the roster. A lot of freshmen make it up, and Syracuse right back at them. McLaughlin opposite end.
One thing McLaughlin is not going to do is shy away from the big blockers of Stanford. Just splits them right down the seam. Stanford's going to have to be able to close those gaps because McLaughlin will find them.
3 consecutive 20-plus kill games for McLaughlin. She's been incredible since ACC play has started. Battle in the middle of the net. Awarded Syracuse point from a violation, so everything going Orange way.
Getting a little bit of help off of another Stanford error. Going to have to be mindful. It was one of the things that Coach Hambly talked about was we have to play mistake-free because Syracuse won't beat themselves.
What a dig from Yamada. Again up front, but Syracuse hangs on. McLaughlin, backline. Pushed other end, Blashoff, no go. What a dig. The pancake to keep it up. Extended volley. Neither team breaking. McLaughlin still goes up. Longest one of the contest so far. Pinball back and forth. Middle of the net. Still can't find it. Bend don't break for both teams. Another dig. Tough set. Scramble for it. Syracuse keeps it alive. Again, and it finally breaks through. Back and forth the whole way. Stanford stands tall.
I think that might be a contender already for Volley of the Year in this NCAA. I mean, what just great play from both teams, and you see the reaction from the players on the court, just relief from both ends. Finally, it's over. Big morale point 1 for Stanford.
Exhaustion, what a play that was. And then fired right towards us.
They get a clean set to Elia Rubin, and there's not many times that she's not going to be able to take advantage of a set like that.
With these two teams, the way they hit, we got to be on standby, Spencer. That ball came flying out towards us on the last one, and now Stanford picking up a couple of points in a row, and it's been credit from Julia Blashoff, a service ace.
Well, you can't serve it any better. I mean, she put some speed on the serve as well, and it's just so tough to judge on that back line when it's coming at you so fast off the arm of Blashoff. 2 in a row.
Another ace back-to-back. This time Syracuse got a touch on it, but can't handle it.
She's, again, I mean, it's the speed in which that's coming to the back line. Now you've got it a little bit in the heads of this back line. They've played so well so far. I expect them to clean it up here soon.
Speed treading towards us as well. 3 of the last 4 plays, that ball's made its way over to our desk, and a couple of players flying through. 3 in a row on the service aces, and that's going to force a Syracuse timeout. A 5-0 scoring run from the Cardinals. So early on, it was Syracuse with 6-0, and Spencer, here's Stanford answering right back.
I mean, you have to expect it, right? If you're Syracuse, you know that Stanford's not going to roll over on set 1 very easily. It's going to be a marathon every set that you're trying to win for Syracuse. It's a great job by Stanford to come back, to kind of settle in. And, I mean, again, I think credit a lot of the energy in this building. Syracuse came out playing really, really fast, and I think that's what's given them the advantage so far over Stanford.
So Stanford now up 13-12 after that run. Julia Blashoff got it started with the end of that long volley, awarding Stanford the point. She's moved to the service spot since, and she's had some luck.
Well, Stanford had just 2 service aces until Julia Blashoff took the service line 3 in a row. And in the timeout, she's going to come back out for her fourth. I mean, right now, Syracuse just simply can't handle it. And I mentioned it before. It's a tough thing when you're on that back line and you have it in your head of, I don't know what to do with this serve. You know, it's moving, it's coming too fast. And right now, that is what that back line is experiencing for Syracuse. Going to have to get it mentally together here in the timeout.
Talked about that response that we saw from the Cardinal. When you face a team that's top 10, that's exactly the type of talent and the type of energy that they can conspire up real quick, going from facing the 6-0 run right back, winning that extended volley, and that's really what's been the difference maker in this. That volley felt like it's been half the game so far. Stanford's the one that breaks through, and then they fed off that.
Yeah, and the service aces, again, Kevin Hambly wants to see that. He wants to see his servers create that discomfort on the defensive end for Syracuse, and they've done that right now, and it's a big part of why this program is so successful.
A nice dig by Yamada, almost another ace outside of the timeout, but Syracuse comes in, and it's McLaughlin ending the run finally.
That's the type of response you need from McLaughlin. Another great serve. Lonnie Yamada has done amazing all afternoon so far, digging up from that back line. But you go to your captain in a moment like that to find a way to stop the bleeding, and McLaughlin does it.
Already we've seen her used in a multitude of ways, Coach Bake, talking about finding ways to get around these middle blockers. Syracuse has done a good job, but it's a tough task handling that. Erica Sayer flying in.
Well, it's a great strike from Sayer, but I want to check out the set from Logan Parks. Way up against the net, flicks it up with one hand in a perfect spot for Erica Sayer to terminate it.
Parks, just the freshman, leads this team in assists. Came in and made a difference right off the bat. Towards the middle, a left-hand touch, but finds its way to the floor. So Ana Leia picks up her first kill of the afternoon.
That's a big sign for Syracuse, because they need the middle to get going in this offense. They need to be able to find a way to hold Lizzie Andrew at that middle blocker position to open up the pin hitters.
Reese Tevez with the service ace. She leads the Syracuse squad, service error. She leads the Syracuse squad in service aces, but didn't see action in the game against Cal on Friday. Instead, it was Emma Ortiz stepping into her spot.
Yeah, and Bake said it was just more of a matchup thing, but obviously Tevez tasked with a big match today.
Stanford, dig after dig. Spencer Etzler came ready to play. Etzler with the setup. Close touch near the net, and Cuse just going to have to bump it over. There's Etzler again, laying out for it, and then the soft touch, figuring out the defense. Elia Rubin pokes one over.
Well, Elia Rubin, she has that vision kind of that Skylar George has for Syracuse. Is going to find a lot of ways to get it done. And you see the big open gap, and that's what happens when you have the power that Stanford has, is you create those gaps because those defenders for Syracuse drop back. They start to think about the long ball, and Stanford able to take advantage of it prior to the error.
Jordan Harvey coughs it back with a service error. So Syracuse down a point. Andrew, heavy hit, and she'll find the kill.
Well, they're going to run Lizzie Andrew off the slide a lot. We haven't actually seen it as much in this first set as maybe we have throughout the season with Stanford, but they like to go to her on that right side off the slide. Expect a lot more of it coming.
A tough handle, another service ace. Elia Rubin jumping for joy.
Rubin, just her first service ace of the season from the service line, finding a way to get it done outside of just that attack.
George in the middle, plays it over soft. Flash off. What a defense by Yamada. George from the back line, too heavy.
Yeah, that's a good attack from George. It seems like in the possessions prior out of that timeout, Syracuse wasn't able to get a lot of solid swings on the ball. I like the aggression from George trying to target that back row. Just didn't work out that time.
Sneak attack, Stanford sniffs it out. Flash off. Tevez, what a dig! Over to our table and finds its way back. Can't make the full play.
You see her kind of laughing it off here, all smiles from Tevez. She knows she made a fantastic play, and it would have been spectacular if she would have been able to get this one to go as well, but the angle just a touch off.
Serve hits the top of the net. Syracuse able to play with it. And then a nice ditch over from Logan Parks. Not a lot of force on that one, but she is a dual threat. She came into this program as a center and an opposite hitter. She made the U21 U.S. national team for both positions. So not necessarily the power attack that we can see from her, but effective on the offensive side as well as setting up her teammates.
Yeah, she's fantastic there, and she's a great setter for the squad, but she can also find the kill when she needs it. And we'll see that out of Taya Maeva a little bit too, but it's Logan Parks there.
Syracuse going to need some energy from the crowd. Coach Bake touched upon it after 2 straight losses to Colgate on that. He wants to see more energy from the Central New Yorkers. He wanted the crowd to show up, and he knows how much of a difference it could make. He said it could help this team out, and asked for them to get off the phone, get into the match, and make some noise. That was following back-to-back non-conference losses in a back-to-back doubleheader against Colgate, ultimately on Friday.
Difference at certain points, I want to give a shout out to all the teams that came out. So soccer, softball, basketball, coaches, administrators.
The crowd brought a ton of energy on Friday, and were extra loud during those tight sets. A big reason, he said, Syracuse was able to win 3 of them and come away with it. But the crowd has been silent over the last couple of points. It's Stanford on a big-time run.
Yeah, they've turned things around quickly. And I'd like to know what Coach Hambly said in that timeout. I'm sure it was just more of a wake-up call. Stanford knows who they are as well, and they know this is a match that they should come in and win, and they're hoping to do it in 3 sets. And that was a rough start for Stanford, but they bounced back here nicely.
The biggest note, we talked about it pregame for that win over Cal, was Syracuse on the serving side. They had 9 service aces to Cal's 0, and that has completely changed here today. Stanford almost creeping towards that number in set number 1. McLaughlin finally gets a clean look, but can't put it down, and Stanford inches closer. Set point.
Yeah, one of the things, you look back at this play, and it's a good set, and McLaughlin, it's a great target. But one of the things that the service aces piling up for Stanford does for Syracuse is it starts to make you uncertain on offense. You don't get as good of passes, which makes it tough on your setter, just like that right there, to put clean sets up for your hitters.
Just out of rhythm, and Stanford with a big hit. Tevez keeps it afloat. George denied. And then some contact. It's going to go the Cardinal way. A 6-0 run followed by a 9-0 run for Stanford to close. Back into the women's building on ACC Network Extra. Stanford stood big, especially in front of the net in that first set. We highlighted her pregame, but Lizzie Andrew had a great first.
Yeah, she did it on the offensive end, but one of the things that Coach Hambly talked about was how far she's come as a blocker. And you see it right there, just nice disciplined defense, closing out the gaps in the net, getting great angular extension with her arms to put them away. And she's just been a force to be reckoned with. They haven't even really gotten her completely going yet, but she's hitting a 600% right now. You just can't say enough about Lizzie Andrew.
It's a key part to the team. You take a look at the first set stats, and it was 50-50 about halfway through it, and then Stanford showed why they're a top 10 team in this country. The hitting percentages jumps off the chart, and especially those service aces, 7-0.
You got to give a little bit of credit, too, to the defense of Syracuse. They're holding Stanford to just a little bit below their season average as far as hitting percentage goes. You have to give a lot of props to the defense of Syracuse as far as being athletic, reacting to some of those tough attacks. I mean, Lana Yamada, Reese Tevis, they have been all over the floor keeping those balls alive.
One of the hitters that haven't had too much issues is Andrew, 7th in the country in hitting percentage, 1st in the ACC, and there's only one player in the Power 5 conference above her, Rebecca Ellick of Nebraska, the senior from Nebraska. And Andrew, keep in mind, only a sophomore.
She's come a long way, that's what Hanley said, but she's got even more ahead of her.
Early strike for Syracuse, and that's how you respond.
That's exactly what you need, a little bit of tone set out of the break. Say, guys, look, we just competed with the number 6 team in the country and had the lead halfway through that first set. Get back to exactly what they were doing early on, up the intensity and aggression, try and strike first here in set 2.
Just haven't seen that clean passing in that second half of the first set. Beautiful setup to McLaughlin on the first. And then how about an ace to follow it up? So Syracuse jumps out to another early set lead.
We talked about Tevis on the defensive end, but just such a strong server on offense as well. You see her targeting Anna Pringle, who doesn't maybe get as much consistent starts as some of the other Stanford defensive players, but sends one long there. But it's a good start nonetheless for Syracuse to come out with a 2-1 lead, get a little bit of momentum.
So one ace and then one error for Tevis. It's going to swing over to the libero, Spencer Etzler. Another youngster on this team, just a freshman from Coldwater, Ohio. And right off recruitment, coach said she's going to be the heir to that libero spot. She's done well. But Syracuse finds a spot where no one's at.
It all comes off of a clean set. It's a nice job handling the serve receive defensively. And Coach Bake says it's not rocket science. You handle a good serve, you set up a good offense. It's a lot easier to score points that way.
Skylar George coming off of a multi-kill game, had 2 service aces in that win over Cal, but coughs a service error up in her first touch of the second set. McLaughlin, a fireball. Held up. Right back to her, try it twice. Can't be denied.
That's McLaughlin finding a way to get it done. It was a great initial dig from Spencer Etzler on that right side, but you give McLaughlin 2 in a row, and it's not often that she's going to have both of them denied as she just finds that pocket in the back left corner.
Coach Bake preaches getting touch after touch. Stanford the first to set themselves up, and it goes to Andrew, and picking up right where she left off.
4th kill of the afternoon for Andrew. Again, she's just incredibly efficient, able to tool the block as well as just put it straight to the floor.
Elia Rubin to serve, the only returning All-American player on this Stanford roster. We mentioned the youth. She stepped into that leadership role as a senior for the Cardinal. Sets her teammate up, and Blashow punches it down.
Blashow's another one of those threats that you can't forget about. She's got 94 kills coming into this match on the season, looking to get to 100 today. She's great from the outside.
What a play from Etzler. Etzler can't get to that one. It's the soft touch that works for Syracuse. George from the back line.
And that's great distribution from Taya Maeva. You've been going to McLaughlin over and over again. Just pop it up easy for Skylar George. You throw the blockers out of sorts, and George just pokes it on over.
She adjusts so well, especially from that back line. Oftentimes times up those peak moments where she can strike, but put in the soft touch to get it done. Stanford just hits it over. A bit of a scramble for Syracuse. No one's gotten a clean look yet. Blashow the first to it. Defended well. Swung over. Waller can't get any damage. Waller right down. Finds its way back. Sydney Waller has stepped into a much bigger role with Veronica Searzant out for the season for Syracuse and made some noise in that California game and stepping up here again.
Well, she kind of positions her body like she's going to throw it to the left, and it draws over Spencer Etzler just a touch too much to her right, and great eyes from Waller to find the open spot.
Flash off, second time. It's a successful one.
You got to give a lot of credit right now to a VVA and Waller of Syracuse. Number 17 and 7 in orange there. They're running the block really well up front. They're forcing Stanford to get more creative on offense. They've taken a lot of big swings, redirected them, and given their defense a chance to set up the offense.
Middle setup, George. What vision.
And that's just going right off of what Coach Bake said about finding a way to get it done. George is, along with McLaughlin, one of the biggest hitters on this team. Whenever there's a clean set to George and she's coming out of the back row, you know she's going to wind up to try and kill it. That makes defenses be honest.
Syracuse is
so we're going to see a challenge. They ultimately ruled it as... They ultimately ruled it as a Stanford point.
I think what they're challenging here is George out of the back row. Whether or not she crossed over that line to poke it over.
Both teams kind of confused. Gabby McLaughlin stepped into the service area to take the serve for Syracuse, but same thing returned for Stanford, and here's George.
And they're challenging the back row attack. And it's tough to see from that vantage point where George exactly was. This might give us a clearer look. She does step on the line there. Hard to see any orange between her shoe and that line. So odds are this is going to be Stanford's point.
Those shoes match the court well, trying to camo with the line, see if it'll work for Syracuse's advantage. The call on the floor was Stanford point, which would tie things up at 6 apiece.
But overall, I mean, Skylar George has done an excellent job so far this match of changing up her pace on attacks. McLaughlin's been bringing the heat, but George has kind of been bringing up that other side of the attack with those soft spots. She's seeing the court very well. It's something we've seen out of her all season long. And that's something that's going to kind of work to Syracuse's advantage if they can keep the Stanford defense mixed up.
As we take another look, it seems like the toe from Skylar George steps on that line. The front of the shoe with the Nike swoosh kind of fits in. That is a close one.
It is a lot closer from that angle.
After review, the call is confirmed. Syracuse will lose their challenge.
Just fractions of an inch away from that swinging to a Syracuse point. They started out the first set hot, took a lead on Stanford, and almost was looking that way again. Now we head to a 6-6 tie, and Stanford back with possession.
And it's something where if you're Coach Bake, you might as well challenge it when you think you've got a good point early in the set for momentum. Right now it's knotted up. It may not be that way later on, so use the challenge while you have that momentum potentially working with you.
They come out with a nice defense away from the challenge. Regardless, stuff Erica Sayer, and Cuse back on top.
That block for Syracuse continuing to stand strong despite some strong attacks from Stanford. McLaughlin in on that one. Just 5'8" is Gabby McLaughlin, but holds her own around the tape.
Blashoff takes a point right back, 7-7.
Great power from Blashoff. Just bring the serve right back to us, why don't you? That's Stanford, as Blashoff again just going to swing so hard whenever she gets the opportunity.
Logan Parks Parks off to serve. George denied at first. Goes right back, dug up. On the floor is Maeva. And Cuse wins the point. Sticking with it in the full way. Feeds Skylar George time after time, and they get back on top.
Well, great placement from Skylar George, but an even better dig from Taya Maeva, laying all the way out. I mean, all of these Cuse defenders are putting it all on the line against Stanford this afternoon, and they get that 1-point lead.
It's a big part of this team. We saw that in the effort against Cal. But how about that from Jordan Harvey, skying up.
Check out the extension from 6'1", Jordan Harvey. It's a great set from Parks. Right up top, I mean, we talked about the verticality of Lizzie Andrew. Don't forget about Jordan Harvey in the middle.
Harvey, a state champion, not only for volleyball, but for basketball in high school as well. Showing off the vertical. A service ace for Stanford. Harvey in 2003. Well, we'll take a look at the replay first.
Blashaw just targeting McLaughlin in the back row there. McLaughlin is a good defender, but they're probably going to keep it away from your defensive specialist and libero in Yamada, as that one splits the defenders long. They might be targeting McLaughlin as we go forward if she's in that back row off the service.
We've seen that theme from both teams so far, with a service ace right to a service error as part of that aggressive serving that both these coaches have preached, and it's going to be a big category that decides the outcome of today's matchup. Soft touch, what a play. The veteran experience from Ruben.
Yeah, we've talked about the eyes of the Syracuse attackers, but Ruben seeing the court well there, finds the gap. Again, those strong attacks lead your defenders to kind of hang back a little bit more, and Ruben takes advantage of it.
George, from the left side, puts another down.
Well, she likes to hug the line, and you see it there as the blockers leave that right side just a touch open for Skylar George, and she's going to find it every time. She has pinpoint accuracy along the out-of-bounds line.
She's the one to serve it over. Towards net. Tevez on the floor. Cuse able to stick with it. Andrews in the middle. Catches that ball. Had another back and forth going, but Ruben breaks through.
Yeah, it's a great tool off of Maeva and Laea, just right off the tops of the fingers. They weren't quite able to get as high up as Ruben on that far side. She takes advantage of it.
Error on the serve receive from Reese Tevez, and Harvey's got herself an ace.
It's a little bit uncharacteristic from Tevez. She receives at a pretty high rate. She's pretty consistent from that back line for Syracuse.
And once again, repeat story, service ace, service error.
Seems to be the theme for Stanford this afternoon, and talked about how their errors well exceed their aces throughout this season. A little bit too much here today.
Andrews, big swing. No one in front of it for the orange.
That's all you can do if you're Syracuse, is set up to try and stop Lizzie Andrew. It's not going to happen every time. She's finding more ways to get creative as well. She can go off hands to the side. She'll find the seam if she can. She's such a strong attacker up front for Stanford.
Elliot Rubin saw some success last time she was serving. Skylar George looking to put a quick end to it, but we're going to see a violation, and it's going to swing the way of the Cardinal.
That's another big attack from George, but maybe just a little bit too antsy, creeping up towards that 3-foot line.
Rubin level with the net. Cuse keeps it going. The back pedal in the fight from the Cardinal. McLaughlin blocked. And inbounds just at the line. Stanford pushes forward. They hit the 15 mark, and climb above Syracuse once again. It's 15-11. We'll be back for the second half action. Stanford looking to come away with another weekend sweep. They've been accustomed to that so far this season. 10-0 against unranked opponents. Their only losses coming to number 1 Nebraska, number 2 Texas, and then number 6 Louisville just last weekend, and kind of flip-flopped with Louisville in the standings afterwards.
Yeah, they've beaten a couple ranked teams as well. They beat Missouri at number 23. They opened the season with a win over number 16 Florida. I mean, this is a team that's going to fill their schedule, even in the non-conference portion, with ranked opponents. And all these young players getting that experience early on is so important, because by the time you're halfway through your first season as a freshman with Stanford, might as well be a veteran for what most teams experience.
Just 3 sets lost to unranked opponents all season, and one of them was UCLA, who started the season in the top 25 in the preseason poll. So done a really clean job in facing some of the other opponents. Big swing on the serve, and then big swing on the kill. Couple of errors coming out of the break for Stanford. That one, they're going to say, is touched on. The line ref held up the flag, but referee at the net going to award the Cardinal the point. So it's 16-12. Coco Kirsch, we've seen her serve a few times today. Syracuse can't stay alive. Erica Sayer puts one down.
Right now, Stanford's just firing on all cylinders. They're collecting the ball very well on offense, getting great clean sets. What a great back set there from Logan Parks on the way to Erica Sayer, moving to her right off the slide. She's another great right side hitter.
Back and forth defense, the overpass, Waller with the swing. But too close to the net, they say, for Stanford and Syracuse. Not even going to have to get the kill to get the point.
Well, Kirsch essentially gave Syracuse the free ball on the overpass, and Waller was able to take advantage of it. Would have probably been a point either way for Syracuse, despite the violation on the end of Stanford.
Blashoff takes it right back.
Blashoff's having a phenomenal afternoon. 7th kill. She's leading Stanford right now. And has just been great at attacking these blockers head on, finding a way to tool it when necessary, seeing the court well along with it.
Waller again, denied.
One of the things right now for Syracuse that I think is worth trying to go to in the game plan is opening up that middle on the attack to maybe get your outside hitters some more opportunities for some one-on-ones, because right now Stanford is closing very well on the ends.
They've read it well. We talked about Sydney Waller a little bit before. She had quite the day against Cal, but not the same success so far here against Stanford. It's another extended run, broken up a little bit by Syracuse, but again, the second half of these sets, Stanford has been there. And Spencer, you just talked about it. It's the middle blockers just really interfering with this Syracuse offense so far today.
Yeah, and that's Stanford's game. I mean, Lizzie Andrew at 6'5", it's very difficult to get her out of the middle, and they've been able to close off well on the edges.
Here's Lizzie Andrews. He's been a standout all season, and once again here today, 6'5", and Syracuse just doesn't have the size to compete with that.
Yeah, she has 53 blocks on the season. She hits so well. We talked about that. Just a great all-around player. And just the block touches overall for Stanford. It's not like they're having to put it down immediately every time, but just getting hands on the attack is crucial.
And it's no secret. We talked to Coach Hambly before the game. That's the biggest advantage he sees from this team.
Maybe then that opens up our pin attack a little bit more.
Yeah, it's that efficiency for the Cardinal. Lizzie Andrew first in the ACC in hitting percentage, but Erica Sayer following suit, just the freshman, 7th in the ACC. Those two are 2nd and 3rd on the team in kills. They're 1st and 2nd in blocks. They do it all for this roster. Skylar George comes out of the timeout with some fire.
Well, George set herself up well there with all the soft shots she's put over. Finally goes back to that tough attack, and you see the big gap in the blockers for Stanford as Erica Sayer just couldn't quite get over. That's one of those things where when Lizzie Andrew is not in rotation in that middle blocker spot, Syracuse has to take advantage of it.
No Lizzie Andrew, no problem. We just mentioned her, Erica Sayer, making some noise.
It's a nice clean serve receive, easy setup to Sayer, and again you see her off that slide, her and Andrew almost a little bit interchangeable on that right side attack.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Spencer, but that's what their coach raves about. Elite slide hitter was the scouting report coming into Stanford, and that's all she's shown since being here. Tap over, the scramble for the orange. Right side, flying up is Jordan Harvey.
Well, Syracuse was expecting Parks to go to her left. Instead, she targets the right side. You have Elia Rubin on that left side. Syracuse is expecting it to go to her, but then Jordan Harvey now on the right side gets it done. Great offensive play.
George pushes that one towards the middle of the floor. Boy, has she been so good today, just reading the angles, getting around these blockers, and finding the soft spots in the defense.
Leads the team right now with 8 kills, and you're not going to rack up 8 kills against Stanford without finding a variety of ways to get it done, and that's just Skylar George's game. Her and Gabby McLaughlin, both so creative.
A big swing on the opposite end. Syracuse lives with it. George, dig, but right back over, meet up at the net, and it's won by Elia Rubin.
Just simple size advantage there. Maeva stands at about 5'11", but go back to this dig. What a great play defensively from Etzler out of the back row. I was eyeing that middle since Stanford had previously left that uncovered, but Etzler takes care of it.
Another overpass, punch down and punch right back. In towards the middle, Soana Leia.
We haven't seen a ton of Soana Leia so far in this match, but she just has an opportunity there. Again, we haven't seen a ton of middle attacks from Syracuse so far, but she's just able to split Elia Rubin and Lizzie Andrew right there because they weren't expecting it.
What an effort on the opposite way. Syracuse somehow spins it towards the other side of the court. Harvey's there for Stanford, and you cannot get better placement than that.
That just takes it right off hands to the back left corner. Nobody home for Syracuse. That's a very difficult cross-court attack to execute.
Able to elevate over the defense, and Harvey, I mentioned it a little bit before, but a state champion in basketball in high school. Her and her sister on the same team. Her sister ended up going on a streak of winning 3 state championships in a row at Bountiful High School, Salt Lake City, Utah, and she's now committed to the Texas Longhorns to play volleyball. Both of them took that path. They met up earlier, but they have that athletic background. You can see it from the vertical. And Spencer, that's not all. Jordan Harvey, her cousin, Aaron Gordon, that's a high flyer for the NBA. 2023 Denver Nuggets NBA champion and multi-time dunk contest winner.
I was going to say the dunk contest, arguably the most important part of that sentence, because it gives the hops to Jordan Harvey. It's in the genes. All ACC second team last year, plays on the U21 national team, and the accolade list goes on for the junior, but be interested to see how that little family rivalry plays out with her sister going to Texas.
Saw it once earlier this season. Now let's take a look at Syracuse's schedule. Off to a nicer start than they have seen in the last couple of seasons. Met their ACC win total already this season from the last 2 seasons combined. 3-2 in ACC play. Up there in some of the defensive categories in the ACC. You see the digs, and that's what this team has to bring because they're so undersized. And talk about being undersized. Gabby McLaughlin as an outside hitter, just 5'8", but in the top 5 of the conference for kills per set. She makes her presence felt.
Yeah, and you see the digs third in the ACC. That's what this team has to do. They have to be able to recover very sharp attacks, and you've seen it all afternoon today. It's what's kept them in this game. Right there, just like that from Yamada.
Sends it over to George. This is going to be a 50-50 ball. Stanford finally with a set piece. It's Rubin breaking through the blockers.
Yeah, and we've seen Rubin multiple times just go right at the seam. And it's very difficult to close off with the experienced attacker like Rubin because she can pinpoint it so precise.
Hughes has to answer it. Set point for Stanford. Big swing from McLaughlin, blocked once. Opposite side, Leia. Stanford gonna get a chance. Andrew, the orange battle. Swung over, Rubin calls the set. Not exactly how she drew it up, but it finds the floor and works out. Stanford takes set number 2, 25-16. They're up 2-0. Looking to take another sweep against an unranked opponent. Syracuse battling and gonna need it for set number 3 when we come back from the break. The Syracuse women's basketball team in the building. Coach Bake liked what he saw from some of the other athletic squads coming against California. And now here's the women's team against Stanford for the big game. Spencer, Syracuse has battled in this one, down 2-0, but has showed a lot of strengths. What ultimately has been the decider for Stanford to stay on top?
Well, Stanford's the bigger team, right? And they've been able to take advantage of that. Syracuse has done very well defensively. I mean, they've been flying around the court, making some spectacular digs. They played well out of system, but right now Stanford has done very well, just kind of abusing that size advantage that they have with Lizzie Andrew in the middle, but then some other key attackers getting involved as well.
And one of the biggest keys in the game that Coach Bake said was to win in the service category for Syracuse. Instead, that's been reversed, and we've seen it from Stanford.
It essentially is a complete flip of last night's script between Syracuse and Cal. Syracuse was all over the aces against Cal. They received extremely well, but so far today, it's been all Stanford. They've served so aggressively to that back line, and they're picking their spots really, really well. And they kind of got in the head of that Syracuse defense, and it took them a minute to get settled in. They saw multiple in a row. You had 3 in a row from Blashoff, and she's just looked spectacular along with this entire squad. Syracuse is going to have to find a way to settle in on defense and track that ball.
One of the biggest threats for this Stanford team is just the amount of key players, the amount of players that can make a difference for this roster. We've seen it all over, and this time it's Julia Blashoff, as you just mentioned, stepping up.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about Lizzie Andrew, and again, some of these other attackers, maybe not so much in the open, but Blashoff is looking spectacular so far. Just tooling on the block for Syracuse. She's gotten it done a lot of different ways. You see her right there off of a VBA, just taking it to that left arm. And of course, she's been a threat serving as well. Just doing it all over. On the blocking end too, you see her on defense just getting way up over that net and finding a way to help this team out wherever she can.
Take a look at the stats through 2 sets. That kills category has gone Stanford's way, and you see the hitting percentage there. They've been able to stuff some of the Syracuse offense because of the size and middle blockers that they rave about. And then on the other end, that's proved advantage on the offense, as they haven't had too much trouble getting through this Syracuse defense.
Yeah, the Aces obviously stand out. Expecting them to keep serving aggressively, you know, especially as they kind of free up in this game. They've got a 2-0 lead. It was a little bit tight there in set number 1, so the serves are maybe a little bit more locked up, but now with the big lead to play with for Stanford, expecting the Aces to not slow down.
Julia Blashoff notched her 100th kill of the season at 94 entering this contest, and she leads Stanford with 7. Game leader is Skylar George, however, and Syracuse puts the first one on the scoreboard for themselves.
One thing to note, it's Zaria Harris-Wadi at the service line, who we haven't seen much of in this afternoon. She played on Friday against Cal, struggled a little bit offensively in that match, hitting the negatives for most of it. And she's one of those pieces in the middle that if you're going to put her on the floor, you've got to find a way to get her going from the middle. She's pretty dynamic off that set.
And a service error there, uncommon. She ranks at 4th in ACC since conference play has started in service aces. Waller denied on the first attempt. Yamada with the one-hand push. Leia just shoves it over. No stopping that. Andrews up tall at the middle of the net.
Well, if you get Lizzie Andrew with the one-on-one, Leia's a great blocker, but she's just not going to win that battle very often against 6'5" Andrew. She just places it very well, straight down, just an easy tap over the net.
Heavy setup, Leia able to get to it, but can't keep it in the line. It's another point for Stanford.
Maybe feeling a little bit of the momentum start to drain out of Syracuse as Stanford goes on this run. It was a great job to come out and get that first point. And now Stanford doing a nice job taking it right back.
Yeah, the Cuse did what they have in the first 2 sets, got off to a set lead, but it's been 3 straight for Stanford until Skylar George rips one through the defense.
She's going to be the one to pick up the energy on this team every single time. See her just flying in on that left side. She's an emotional player. She plays so aggressively, and you see that pour out every match.
This team has a ton of energy, but definitely the leader. That one hits the antenna before it hits the Syracuse hands, so they'll take another.
And we might get a challenge here from Coach Hambly. Had the green card in his hand.
Pump fake does.
I think he's saying right now it went off the block and into the antenna, if I heard that correctly.
Let's listen in.
Stanford is challenging in, out.
Yeah, so he's going to challenge off the hands of Syracuse and say it hit off the block and into the antenna.
It's a bang-bang play on the opposite side of the net. We don't have the best vantage point to see which it hit first.
That's the far side for us. And when I saw it unfold live, I saw a lot of commotion into the net, as it does look like it strikes the antenna first.
Looks like it scrapes it. You wonder if Skylar George's left hand might have made contact with it, but still, seems like the ball races to it.
Because you can see the arms of George and Leia coming in, and when they move forward, that's when they would strike the antenna.
Take a look from this angle.
That one's pretty tough to see.
That angle at least lets you see how far away George was from it.
Right. I mean, it definitely goes off of George's hands, but I think it strikes the antenna first, namely because the hands of Skylar George would go into the antenna when they start to move forward to initiate that block, and they move forward when the ball passes the net, which means that her hands would have really no business going into the antenna prior to when she makes that move. We'll see if we can see it one more time. See, she makes that move there after the ball is pretty much already hit off of her hand. I mean, she's well away from the antenna at that point. I think this one's pretty clear. It's going to be Syracuse point.
Well, just the second challenge of the afternoon. The first came from Syracuse and Coach Bake, who ultimately lost it in the call on the court stood. So Syracuse down to 1 challenge, and now Coach Hambly trying to keep both of his and take a point away from the Cuse. Change some of the momentum early on in the set. Syracuse has been the one to come out in front in each of the first 2 sets, and then it's been Stanford rallying towards the latter half. If they get off to a start, this could be some tough sledding for the Orange.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things to take away from this match, however it goes, is you started sets really well. And I thought they did a good job of that against Cal, too, on Friday night. Especially in the second and third set, they came out to a really hot start, and got pretty sizable leads. They ended up losing those leads at times, but they've done well starting the match. And to start matches well against the number 6 team in the country is pretty impressive.
So we got one more new angle, and that antenna rattles. We'll take a listen in for the official calling.
After review, the call is confirmed. Stanford will lose their challenge.
So 2 challenges on the contest, 2 unsuccessful. Syracuse keeps the game at 3 apiece and looking to pull ahead early on in the set once again. Reese Tevez, who we mentioned earlier, leads this team in service aces. Didn't see any action in the game against Cal. It was Emma Ortiz instead, and Coach Bake said that's really just playing the matchup. So she draws the contest against Stanford. Juggle around. George blocked, out of bounds, Orange point.
I really like this decision from Taya Maeva to not force one back over the net and instead set up her offense in system with George on that left pin. That's a veteran decision right there that gives Syracuse the point.
A net scraper, Stanford hangs with it, and Andrews finishes it.
And we've seen a lot of Andrews off the slide so far. They've mixed in that middle attack here and there, but they've really gone to it here in set number 3, and she's taking advantage.
From the back line, McLaughlin. Precision.
And both her and Skylar George, when they come out of that back row attack, they see the court so well. And of course, it all starts with great serve receive. Yamada there. And then McLaughlin just targeting that left line. When they come out of the back, it's a little bit easier to avoid going right into those blockers.
George now heads to the back line. There she is with the dig. McLaughlin set up outside. Swing around. Leia. We got 2 different calls on the court. And it's going to go Stanford way. Wow, from corner to corner, the ace. Elia Rubin having quite the afternoon.
And that's what she does. I mean, brought 20 service aces into this match. She has been making them count from behind the line.
She's got 3 in today's contest. Andrew again. She cannot be stopped.
And just back to her off the slide. I mean, right there on that right side. She's turning into one of those that they're going to rely on when they get in tight spots in sets. They just rely on her on that right side to do something with a great set.
Sneak attack from Maeva. Then with the block. And it finds line. Didn't work on the attempt to get a point offensively. Finds the positioning, gets the touch, gets the point.
Yeah, Blashoff just kind of got tied up there. Knew she couldn't touch it again after she jousted with Maeva.
Skylar George can't handle that, and there is Blashoff.
Just having such a great afternoon. Eclipses the 100 kill mark on the season. And she is getting it done. Just such a versatile attacking front for Stanford. They've used pretty much all their weapons this afternoon.
There's a service error for Stanford. So throws it right back to Syracuse, keeping them afloat. Cuse has gone on a couple of runs that has set them over Stanford early on in the sets. Haven't seen one yet here today. Taya Maeva was the one that did it in the first set with a 5-0 run. Now here she is to serve again. But that one goes right out and right back.
And one of the things about serving against Stanford is they're the best serve-receive team in the ACC. They give up the least amount of service aces, so it's very difficult to find aces against them.
With all the talent and size they have, the biggest key, you see some of the size right there. Erica Sayer getting in on the block. The biggest thing for Stanford, a lot of the times you hear from other teams, is that crisp passing, and they just, like you said, the serve receives, the attack receives, they just don't let the ball fall.
Yeah, they're one of the best passing teams in the country by far, and it's an incredible thing to have from such a young team. It's usually something that comes more with maturity.
Can't receive that one. Syracuse notches one back, stays within 2. And again, second time in a row, Syracuse just hurting themselves.
And right now, it's hurting momentum more than anything. Each time you get this building kind of engaged, you get some momentum back on your side. Those errors are tough, and it kind of puts a bow on the point I was making earlier. Serving against Stanford, those errors are tough to rebound from, because you're not going to get very many aces in return from such a solid defensive team.
Off with a rocket. McLaughlin fields over to George, who notches another.
Well, I think that Stanford had a pretty solid game plan for McLaughlin coming into this one, but George has done a fantastic job stepping up and filling that void. I mean, McLaughlin's had a pretty solid afternoon. She's got 7 kills, but George leads all with 11 on both sides. She's the standout offensive player so far of this whole match.
Hitting 233, had a tough time hitting against Cal, finding her way here against Stanford. Off the fingertips, but could not get the clean block. Jordan Harvey with a little less on it than she usually gives, but it works.
Just finding ways to get it done. And you go back to that point about, you know, Skylar George stepping up for Syracuse. Standing at 6 foot, that's a huge advantage over McLaughlin at just 5'8". And sometimes that size is it's inevitable.
Big block on the net. Syracuse does it again, but it's out of bounds.
We've seen that throughout this match. I think the blocking for Syracuse has done well closing off on the outsides, but it's just a matter of placement. And it's pretty hard to work on placing those blocks when you're facing the number 6 team in the country in that category. But overall, I thought they've done well holding their position and staying strong against some of these attacks.
Nice closeout by Yamada, tough set. George finds a way to get to it, but just didn't have the angle. So that's going to bring us to the halfway mark. Stanford up 15-9, looking to close things out in 3 sets here in Syracuse. Not only one of the best teams in the country this season, it's been in their program blood. Most NCAA titles by any volleyball squad, 141 matches played, also sits at the most, and they've only missed 1 NCAA tournament in the tournament's history.
I mean, arguably one of the best franchises, if you go by stats, pretty much the best franchise in volleyball history as far as the NCAA is concerned. And they're a team that's looking to get back there this year, right? They've got a very young team, but Coach Hambly expects a lot. He talked about the expectations prior to this match, and you see the stat, they've only dropped 3 sets versus unranked opponents. They've done so well with such a young group, and he said they're a program that develops players, looking to continue on with that development. Just a great squad overall.
Skylar George has found some success today against one of the best teams in the country, however. Puts her up to 12 kills on the contest. No one else in the game has seen double digits.
This is going to be a huge takeaway for Syracuse, is getting Skylar George going against a team like this.
Harvey up top. And it finds the paint.
Well, Jordan Harvey's looked great. Continues to find those angles around the Syracuse block. Had a pretty nice game against Syracuse last year with 11 kills. But again, Stanford just getting it done in all kinds of ways.
Set up back line, McLaughlin. Etzler with some nice reaction time. Swings it opposite way, Leia. No good. And Andrew, yet again, cannot be matched.
What a spot from Lizzie Andrew. We talk about the angles she has in the front, but you just cannot place that any better. That is incredible from the sophomore.
Coach Bake gonna have to talk things over with the Orange. It's getting a little carried away. Have to close in now if you want to swipe away a set from Stanford. We talked about how good they are against unranked opponents, and they've only dropped one set so far this season in ACC play against an unranked opponent. That was against Virginia, and the response was noted. Jordan Harvey had mentioned that that's not really in their game plan. When they versed unranked opponents, they kind of fell asleep, and they came right back, won it in the fourth set, dropped the third there. And when they come into every game, especially when a team doesn't have a number in front of it, is to come in, take care of business, and leave with the W.
Like I said, they've got very high expectations every single year, and that's what great teams do, is they go into unranked opponents and expect sweeps.
So let's take a look at some of the conference around town. Big-time ranked matchup, and there might be some movement up there in the single digits. 18 Miami takes down number 4 Pitt. Pitt was the highest ranked team in the ACC going into this weekend. Louisville at 5, and then Stanford at 6. SMU also cracks the top 10. 6 ranked teams in the ACC. A few new players added to the watch list. Livings of SMU just faced off against Syracuse not too long ago.
Miami at 5-0 in ACC play, a top contender right now. Hurricanes are having a great season. They're expecting to be in that top 10 ranking soon.
A bullet from Rubin.
All afternoon long, they've gone to Elia Rubin, and she just splits the block right there. Lea's a little bit late sliding over to match up with Maeva, and Rubin able to split it.
Another player added to the ABCA players to watch recently. She has put on a clinic so far this season for Stanford, and as we mentioned, one of the big-time leaders. Coach Hambly raved about her stepping up into that position. A lot of times, if things don't go the way, she could afford to kind of get frustrated and just bring out some of her emotion and her energy. But now with the youth of this squad, really has to rein it in, and she's done a really good job at doing that.
Yep, she's been that mental leader for this squad. Just a great person to center your program around for Stanford.
Another block at the net. Gabby McLaughlin has had a tough day. She sits at 7 kills. Her lowest so far on the season was 8. It happened twice. Once against Canisius and once against another ranked Louisville opponent. Just one time in the ACC, and hasn't scratched close to that double-digit spot yet. They go back to her and blocked again.
Yeah, you can just kind of see it on her face right now. It's just kind of the what do I do situation. She's facing such tall blockers. I mean, the set is a little bit tight for her there for where she was positioned, but that's one of those where in a normal given match she can poke it over and at least let the set live on, as opposed to just giving it right back in her lap.
21-11 Stanford. Syracuse has to call a timeout towards the end. Syracuse knew this would be a tough battle coming into this one. We've seen all the stats from Stanford, but they've had some standouts, and Skylar George right there, one of them, leader of the contest with 12 kills so far. Spencer, she's found a way to really break into this Stanford defense.
Well, this is a big deal for Syracuse because you always rely on McLaughlin, of course, but when she's getting shut down, you have to have an answer, and Skylar George has been that answer pretty consistently throughout this season. I mean, you see the location, just such high IQ. She's able to tool blocks. She gets around blocks. We saw the off speed a lot today. She's that go-to athlete that you go after when your star player in McLaughlin is struggling like she is today.
That's been the most impressive thing so far today, just finding the soft spots in the defense. She has risen up on top of the net, and we know the size of the blockers that Stanford has, and she still found ways to get around them and make an impact. The team as a whole for Syracuse hitting .096 today, but Skylar George hitting .206. I mean, she's had a phenomenal day, and on the offensive side, it's been the bright spot here for the Orange.
I think the other thing that helps her out in a match like this is the emotion and intensity that she plays with. I touched on it prior, but she brings in so much fire for this team, and whenever they're feeling down or like they may be out of it, you turn to Skylar George, she gets a big kill, and she's fired up, she's screaming, she's yelling. That team feeds off that.
First action we've seen from Sydney Duncan. Records her first kill so far, and if that last name doesn't sound familiar, the daughter of the great legendary basketball Hall of Famer Tim Duncan, 5-time NBA champion of the San Antonio Spurs.
Well, it's Sydney Duncan's first kill of the season so far, so a big number for her to be able to come in against Syracuse and find one.
Hometown San Antonio, Texas, that's where her father played his entire career for the Spurs. Dominance on the basketball court, and now Sydney Duncan, one of the young stars on the Stanford roster, getting her first action, but looks to get a second kill. Yamada with an impressive play. Up top, delivered. Blashoff not done yet.
Yeah, Blashoff's really put her mark on this game. She redshirted last year, brought a lot of hunger into this season, wanting to get back in the action. We're going to see a pretty big line change here for Stanford as they continue to mix in more and more players. Logan Tusher taking the court. Lisakawa.
Sydney Duncan heads to the bench, a short stint, but what an impact. That's got to feel good, grabbing her first kill of the season. That came rather quickly. Comes in the game, drew up a play for her, gets to it, finishes it off.
And no, Tim Duncan is not in attendance for this ACC matchup. I was the first to ask, as a lifelong Spurs fan.
Stanford 2 away. Syracuse not wanting to go home quietly. Harris Waddy denied. Fed her a couple times, but the Cardinal, too much presence at the net.
Well, it's been a stellar third set for them, and just to wrap up our previous point, Tommy, I mean, it's an interesting story with a lot of these Stanford athletes. Many of them have family members that played sports at a very high level.
Toss up at the net. Stanford looking for one more. Blashoff can't get it there. McLaughlin gonna have her chance tied up. George from the back, denied. The finishing touches for the Cardinal. (25-12) in the third set. It was a battle the entire way. Stanford able to put their stamp on it in the third set. And Spencer, it was some clean play to end the game.
Well, who else to put it down but Julia Blashoff? Right there in the middle, comes together with Logan Tusher, who got in on a block with her first minutes on the floor. Overall, I mean, Blashoff stood out tremendously for Stanford. A big afternoon for her. Of course, Lizzie Andrew looked phenomenal, hitting over 600.
It's their fourth ACC straight set win, and it's come against those unranked teams that they've been so successful against. Only have dropped the Louisville game against ACC. It was a tough test for the Orange, and ultimately, number 6 Stanford comes out on top. They win it 3-0. That's all for today's volleyball. For our director, David Tasca, producer, Kristen Hennessy, our talented crew, my partner, Spencer Bewley, I'm Tommy Armstrong, signing off on ACC Network Extra. Stanford wins 3-0. You have a wonderful rest of your Sunday evening.